one-eyed yellow idol to the north of Kathmandu. There's a little marble cross below the town. There's a broken-hearted woman who tends the grave of Mad Carew, and the yellow god forever gazes down. He was known as Mad Carew by the subs at Kathmandu. He was hotter than they felt inclined to tell. But for all his foolish pranks, he was worshipped in their ranks, and the colonel's daughter smiled on him as well. He had loved her all along with the passion of the strong, and that she loved him was plain to all. She was nearly 21, and arrangements had begun to celebrate her birthday with a ball. He wrote an asked what present she would like from Mad Carew. They met next day as he dismissed his squad, and jestingly she told him that nothing else would do but the green eye of the little yellow god. On the night before the dance, Mad Carew seemed in a trance. They chaffed him as they puffed at their cigars. But for once he failed to smile, and he sat alone a while, then went out into the night beneath the stars. He returned before the dawn, with his shirt and tunic torn, and a gash across his temple dripping red. He was patched up right away, and he slept through all the day, and the colonel's daughter washed beside his bed. At last he woke and asked if they would send his tunic through. She brought it, and he thanked her with a nod. He bade her search the pocket, saying, "That's for Mad Carew," was the green eye of the little yellow god. She upbraided poor Carew in the way that women do, that both her eyes were strangely hot and wet. But she wouldn't take the stone, and Mad Carew was left alone, with the jewel that he'd chanced his life to get. When the ball was at its height on that still and tropic night, she thought of him and hurried to his room. As she crossed the barrack square, she could hear the dreamy air of a waltz tune softly stealing through the gloom. His door was open wide with silver moonlight shining through. The place was wet and slippery where she trod. An ugly knife lay buried in the heart of Mad Carew, was the vengeance of the little yellow god. There's a one-eyed yellow island to the north of Kathmandu. There's a little marble cross below the town. There's a broken-hearted woman who tends the grave of Mad Carew, and the yellow god forever gazes down.
Once, upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary of a many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Nameless here, forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now to still the beating of my heart I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you." Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the stillness was unbroken, and the silence gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon I heard again a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the winds, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not an instant stopped nor stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon the bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat and nothing more. And this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," said I, "art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ere yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast on the sculptured bust on his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely, on that placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by replies so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, for whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his hopes one burden bore, till the dirges of his hopes a melancholy burden bore of nevermore." But the raven, still beguiling my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then into the velvet sinking I betook myself to linking fancy onto fancy, thinking, what this ominous bird of yore? What this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore? This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat beguiling, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining, let the lamplight gloated o'er. But whose velvet violet lining, with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press? Ah, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, respite, nepenthe of thy memories of the Nore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil. Prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent thee or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore. Desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore. Tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked up starting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, never more. But the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, still is sitting on that placid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul, from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted